So the PAP won 87 seats and Workers' Party 10. Compare this to 2020 and it almost looks the same, except the PAP had 83 seats. Electoral boundary wise, it basically looks the same. In the last election, PSP was the best alternative party loser with 48.3%, and 2 NCMP seats were given to Hazel Phua and Leong Man Wai. This year, it looks to be offered to the Workers' Party's Andre Low and one of their Tampines GRC members. Jalan Kayu was a major disappointment, and it also signals to us that political apathy is still a real thing. In a 2021 study by the Institute of Policy Studies, out of 2,000 Singaporeans and PR, 53.2% wouldn't even search for information about politics and political events. So 51.47% is, I guess, 1.7 percentage points better than 53.2. Considering this, and I'm assuming I'm going against Reddit and my subscriber sentiments here, the election results weren't that bad at all. Remember what I said in my previous video. This election might not be big in the results. I mean, we already know PAP is still going to get parliamentary supermajority. The big thing is that we are going to get more credible alternative parties in the next election. And indeed, the results weren't big, but there are still things we can learn. For one, electoral boundaries may not matter as much as people think. Chee Soon Juan felt forced to move to an entirely different SMC from Bukit Batok to Sembawang West, yet his vote share didn't go down at all, just narrowly missing the NCMP spot. The EBRC may have a hiring preference for a man named Jerry, but Singapore is a very small place. Relocate as many times as you want, but your reputation follows you everywhere, whether you're a politician or a bak chor mee store. The problem would then be a logistical one, considering where STP's headquarters are. 2. The PAP came in with a plus 7% buff this election. 65.57% of the popular vote doesn't sound like much of an improvement from 61.24 until we take a closer look at the numbers. We even had a new record of the highest ever vote share in a GRC of 81.03% in Tanjong Pagar against the previous record of Taman's Jurong GRC in GE 2001 with 79.75%. In Jurong Central SMC, PAP got 80.51%. So these are ridiculous numbers. And it becomes even clearer when we compare only areas not contested by WP. In 2020, these areas, PAP had 64.58% of the popular vote. In 2025, this increased to 72.3%, which is to say that Paul Tambia's drop from 46.27% to 38.59% is pretty close to the expected island-wide buff the PAP got this election, or about 7.7%. And we can speculate the reasons, from the global uncertainty and Lawrence Wong's speech to assuage fears while being grounded in reality, to the municipal issues Singaporeans face every day, social media, or even the rain reminding our monkey brains of lightning. In any case, the PAP's strong mandate is pretty clear here. The third thing, voters made a clear rejection of weak candidates, with NSP receiving even lower vote shares than the two independents. Using Tampines and Sembawang for example, it is clear that voters can discern which parties are more serious and come to a natural consensus. It shows that voters may be smarter than most people think. Fourth, voters are not rejecting new ideas. And we can tell this by comparing Daryl Low with Jeremy Tan. Daryl's campaign is very simple and focused, going down to few specific policies like pushing for full-time MPs and increasing eligibility for MOE financial assistance. You can say that the 23.47% is a baseline of votes you can get if you are sincere enough, even if you don't have major national plans or suggestions.
Yeah, it's true because, okay, one thing I have to admit, I don't have the depth or I don't have the research capabilities strong enough like the PAP or the Workers' Party or any other party to go dive deep into all the issues that concern Singapore. I think the PSP has put up a very long a manifesto which has like, I think about 60 pages or something.
Yeah, 78 pages.
78 pages. Yeah, and that's a little crazy to me. Can't expect one person to do all that. So I was targeting specific issues that, well, maybe the government doesn't have like a defensible position to these issues, and then that would get people thinking, right? So the issues like full-time MPs. I think that was the norm. Part-time MPs was the norm for the longest time. So full-time MP is like, right? It's like something that, makes people think, how about now, right? How about we have full-time MPs now, right? Apart from political office holders for sure.
And even if we add the 7% from PAR, there's still about 6% below Jeremy's. So where Jeremy's campaign differs is that Jeremy seems to have thought about a wide range of issues, from the municipal issues of estate management, the wide-ranging policies from housing, improvements in the political landscape, employment, and economy, just to name a few. And on top of this, what made Jeremy different is the futuristic vision he has for Singapore. Although he seems focused on Bitcoin, he does talk about greater adoption of automation in the form of AI and robotics, which I feel other candidates don't talk enough about.
I also focus a lot about AI and robotics reform. We need to have that earlier in our education system, sales, financial literacy, and entrepreneurship classes as well.
I also would like to see more specifics, but I guess it's just a campaigning time problem. So you can understand how voters valued this futuristic vision by comparing the SMCs contested by PSP, like Marymount, which got 29.3%, and Pioneer with 34.58%. And since we are talking about PSP, fifth, PSP's results show that you really shouldn't downplay global issues. Their full answer in this conference is a bit long, but this is the part people remembered.
At the moment, what I can think of is this tariff is about tariff imposed on our exports, right? Which is not going to affect our cost of living, which is imports.
That's the direct impact. We also import from many other countries who are slapped with very serious tariffs.
No, those tariffs is when they go into the US, right? But if they export to Singapore, there's no tariff.
There will be change in trading routes and stuff. So there will be indirect impact.
Yeah, so that part need to be looked at, right? So like, for example,
let me answer that.
I think they are entitled to their own experience. But from my point of view, I think that the tariff that I sort of have read about at the moment will not cause that much impact as what has been reported.
I think this call by the government ministers about this tariff, in my opinion, is partly to instill fear in the voter. So the voter will be so frightened. Oh, this thing is going to happen. It's going to be serious. You better vote for the incumbent. Safe bet. So I like to say that these things must be studied carefully, and by economists like Manwai and all these people, on the real impact of this tariff on our people.
Even if it might be a bit out of context, those are not good answers. It may not have been their intention to downplay the tariffs, but the damage was certainly done, considering they needed to clarify. So remember point 2, the 7.7% buff for the PAP coming from global uncertainty. The PSP's A-team lost 8.3%, and Tan Cheng Bock certainly didn't help with his endorsement of Tan Kin Lian in 2023, who can be a bit of a joker to say the least. There are of course other factors like their parliament performance, but I suppose in a storm, palm trees aren't exactly known for being good shelter. So to go back to the Workers' Party, against the 7% buff the PAP had, still managed an average of 50.04% of the boundaries they contested in 2025. And compare these to the 50.49% in 2020. So that's a drop of less than 0.5%, which means that in the eyes of the voters, when the Workers' Party is able to field out a candidate, the quality of those candidates are about on par with the PAPs. In fact, WP even gained ground in Sengkang GRC and Hougang SMC, which also means that voters can discern that Raisa Khan may not be the party's fault. And with what we have established, that there is a large political apathy and that voters may be smarter than we think, I think Andre Low did very well. The tax leaks wouldn't do much, as I trust the electorate to be intelligent enough to differentiate the severity between a few swear words with friends against the secgen of a trade union who accepted a deal which not only broke a promise to uphold a social mission, was so bad the government had to investigate and only then found out the Central Committee didn't know of specifics within the plan and then block it. Essentially, the problem isn't whether voters understand, but whether they found the information or looked for it in the first place. And some might ask why WP didn't field other candidates such as Michael Theng or Eileen Chong. But if you look at the qualifications, Andre actually doesn't lose at all. I mean, at only 34 years old, being a disputes lawyer under Davinder Singh, then going to startups, becoming a consultant, staff product manager, MBA from INSEAD. But really, all these don't really matter to low information voters and politically apathetic voters, which are those 53% who don't even know about the Income-Allianz deal. What they see is these two compared like this. And Andre Low is somehow 33 years old. Yes, that's right, that minus 1 year also shook. When you compare candidates like this, it doesn't matter how qualified someone is. They are just going to see this as a sacrificial piece. By all means, Andre Low could have been like Tan Chen Chen in 2020, getting only 39.02%, or maybe doing slightly better like Kenneth Su, 43.83% this year. NTUC Guy was also revealed 28th March and confirmed 19th April. If Workers' Party really wanted that SMC, they could have fielded Ong Lue Ping, who was not only given media attention as one of their star catchers, but is also old enough to not be seen as just some sacrificial pawn. Well, there's no way the Workers' Party didn't consider this. So this is their strategic decision.
I mean, I think I can understand that sentiment, but you see, if you put somebody else, then either you weaken another team or you strengthen another team, and then your overall strategy is back, not in equilibrium anymore. So ultimately, you've got to make a decision based on your understanding of the ground, and we had a particular perspective, and all our candidates came really close. I think the nationwide swing was a factor, but this is the nature of politics.
And this is the result.
Yeah, very sayang lah.
And then there is the lower turnout of 92.46% this GE, much lower than the previous years, which are usually around 95%. But I don't think this would have affected anything considering that Jalan Kayu's turnout was 94.01%, which is slightly higher than the national average this year. The Red Dot Perspective also made a video specifically regarding this SMC, so watch that if you want more perspectives. He thinks the absentee votes would have required support equivalent to Hougang SMC, which just seems unlikely. Anyway, final thoughts. There are a lot of assumptions built into this analysis, but since the demographics and motivations of each vote is secret, this is just one way to think about it. Voters have shown that they want strong alternative candidates and can discern them. The challenge is still that there is a lot of political apathy, and for that, we really need a lot of time for information to diffuse. Very important thing is that apathy doesn't mean unintelligent. It just means they are likely less informed. And I have to applaud mosquito parties for remaining, even as just a way for voters to express their dissatisfaction in numbers. It's not an easy thing to do. I just hope that their egos don't get in the way and that ultimately they have to step aside or help the actually good candidates. And if you're someone looking to enter politics, maybe also beware that entering a party gives you their baggage, although you also get their branding. And for the PAP, I just hope they understand why 1 in 5 people still vote for mosquito parties. I mean, there must have been stagnant water, right? So why is there stagnant water in the first place? And consider that storms tend to lead to prime breeding grounds for mosquitoes. And finally, praying for GIGACHAD FELIX Tan for saying this live on TV.
It's very interesting what has happened and transpired over the last couple of days during the campaigning days as well. I think what's important is that when it comes to the point of negative politics, it's rather rich coming from the PAP, I've got to say. All right, and they have been the mother of negative politics over many past general elections, accusations of who is a liar, and a lot of other incidents as well. So this time round, I think we need to go and really focus on who said what first. And for example, the issue of strangers coming into a particular constituency, who started that conversation first? It wasn't the opposition. So I think we need to go and focus again. When you talk about negative politics, have you really focused on what you have just mentioned? So, it's really interesting when we talk about negative politics and yet, who is saying all these things.